and we say Saquon stay in or Goddard stay in or whoever you feel can pick up the block wherever it's coming from, and then they bring like 4 or 3.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so difficult because they're not a team that's going to sit there and blitz every single play, but they're going to blitz enough where you're constantly thinking about it. And they're so, man, I just this past few days just going through their defense, and it's just like it really, it's got. It's just got you in twists trying to figure out what they're doing, who's going to be blitzing. It's not like when we played the Commanders, you know Frankie Louvu is going to blitz a lot. That's their guy that they send on a lot of blitzes. It's not so much. That's not the case really with the Chiefs defense. All of their linebackers are going to blitz. Their safeties are going to blitz. Their corners are going to blitz. So trying to figure out who is going to blitz on each play is a fool's errand, really. You just got to really set your protection knowing, okay, if they blitz, this many are going to come from this side. We need to let the offensive line sort it out, but you can't sit there and try and pinpoint which player is going to blitz for sure. But then to your point is, those times when they look like they're going to blitz and then they don't, well, then that keeps guys out of the route and that helps them in coverage on the back end, right?
Is there a
So,
way to implant maybe time releases if we do call max and no one comes?
yeah, I mean, you can definitely do check releases, they'll do things like that. I think they're going to do things like moving the pocket will be definitely a big thing, especially they love sending 4 overload blitzes, so 4 guys to one side. They love sending those blitzes from the boundary. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see some rollouts back to the field side. Just some different things to try and move the pocket. But if you can get the everything blocked up, it's not a sound defense on the back end, meaning like the Eagles defense, they're sound. They play with leverage really well. So if you're playing with inside leverage, you have a guy to help you on the outside. Or if you're playing with outside leverage, you should have a defender to help you on the inside, right? There are times where you'll see them, they live on chaos. So there's going to be times you see them blitz, and then a defensive tackle that's aligned in the A gap is trying to chase a running back out to the flat with no help from outside leverage, right? So there's times where if you can get the blitzes blocked up, there's going to be opportunities to take advantage. And you look at their defense, they are 20th in explosive pass rate allowed. So they will get home with some blitzes and they'll make Jalen scramble. Hopefully he doesn't drop his eyes too much, but there are going to be times when they pick those blitzes up or they see those blitzes coming and get into the right play call, and they can generate some explosive plays, whether it's on the ground with Jalen's legs or Saquon's legs or finding guys through the air. So it's definitely going to be a challenge for them. I'm glad that they have multiple weeks to prepare for this team because they send a lot of different exotic blitzes. You want to have a lot of reps against that, and I think the Eagles would be prepared for it.
I think I think we did see a lot of the move in the pocket last week too. Well, 2 weeks ago, and we seen a lot of him, kind of just. And I gave him some easy completions to AJ. Gave him some easy completions to Smitty Goddard. Moving them out and just having the play kind of flow with him. You find the guy that's open. I mean, you deliver the ball. Obviously, it's still progression, but it can alleviate some of the Chris Jones effect. But also with moving the pocket, my only problem is his IQ is so high. He's liable to slip through as they're like sliding down. He's liable to like cut the line off, and that could be a problem. That could be a problem because
Yeah.
Jalen Carter does.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But with great players, they're always going to make plays, right? But can you limit how many great plays that they're able to make? That's the biggest key. And again, we got one of the best offensive lines in the league. I think they'll be okay. I think they'll be able to listen. Jalen's going to take some sacks. He's going to get pressured. It's just going to happen in this game. But much like what happened in the Rams game, you take 7 sacks. This team was still 2 extra points away from putting up 30 points, right? So I don't think they're going to shut down this Eagles offense. There's going to be times where they get the Eagles off the field, right? They put them in bad situations that they might have to try and dig themselves out of. But I think they'll be okay and being able to generate explosives on their own end to make up for those plays. And so we'll see how it works out. But I am feeling pretty confident that they're going to have a good game plan going into this game to take advantage of some of those blitzes that Spags is going to throw and those blitzes that get what the hell is his name? Chris Jones, those one-on-one opportunities.
I think the positive note for today, obviously, it's good to have a Friday show because it's the last practice. The injury report came out. Looks like everybody's a go. You know what I mean? And from what I've heard from some of the reporters that are out in New Orleans, Brandon Graham is going to play, even though he's listed as questionable. He's pretty much playing. So, how do you feel about the injury report? How do you feel about getting most of the guys back?
Yeah, I
Go
mean,
ahead, deep space.
I feel like, especially with a guy like Brandon Graham out there's always that question of, well, do you want to throw a guy? He's obviously hurt. He's going to be limited. He's not going to be to his full strength coming off the injury that he's coming off of, right? But the things that he can bring with like his intelligence, his like formation recognition, being able to shoot gaps like we talked about with Chris Jones, just having that IQ. We saw a lot of that play out in his last game against the Rams. It was like he knew what was coming and he was beating the offensive lineman to the spot. And I feel like, having a guy like that back on the field gives you that, gives you some of those plays where it's just his mental fortitude, his IQ that allows him to make some of these plays, even if he's not playing at 100%. I think he's going to have an impact in some way, shape, form, or fashion in this game. And then it also gives you some depth so that you're not sitting there trying to rotate a 3-man rotation. And then what if one of those guys gets hurt? And then now you're rotating 2 guys really throughout the game and having them play a lot of extra snaps. But it'll be interesting to see with, like we talked about with Landon Dickerson, how does his knee injury hold up? There was talks about him having a serious knee injury. He was a full participant in practice, so maybe it's just, the Eagles are leaking some reports out to the media to, playing that little cat and mouse game. But I'll be excited to have Brandon Graham back, especially if this is going to be his last game. I'm just happy that the Rams game wasn't his last game that he went out on.
Yeah, I think it's a good opportunity, man. This week with all the guys back, man. I mean, yeah, Brandon Graham probably isn't gonna be the Brandon Graham we've seen when he went down with the injury, how he was pretty much wrecking that Rams game. I don't think you see that Brandon Graham, but his presence, his awareness, his leadership. Yes, it plays a part when you're standing on the sideline. But when I can get in the game with you, when we could talk, one-on-one about what's going on the field, we can make better decisions. And to answer deep space, I do think Saquon Barkley will have over 100.
Yeah, I agree too. I think he'll get over 100 yards, and it's just, I mean, really just playing the odds. He's gone over 100 against almost every single defense that they've played, especially coming out of the bye week when they've said we're going to be a run-first team, right? And then you look at, the Chiefs have been run on a little bit, and then you look at the fact that even against statistically what was the best run defense in the league, the Ravens, Saquon still put up over 100 yards. You add in what Jalen can do with his legs as well, that opens things up on the ground. And this team is just, they figured out what, how they want to attack on the ground. They're so good with whatever front you want to throw out there. They know their answers that they're going to have for that, and I think they'll be able to run against that. You also look at things that like the Chiefs defense will do. They'll rotate their linebacker to the edge, similar to what we do with Zach Bond, and what ends up happening is they slide in their edge rusher into a B gap, right? And if you're going to have 250, 260-pound defensive ends trying to hold up on double teams between Jordan Mailata and Landon Dickerson, good luck. Those dudes are just going to get pushed way off the line and allow a lot of space, right? So if the Chiefs are going to come out in some exotic looks, and I expect the Eagles to run right at those looks, similar to like when the Rams walked up their linebackers on the line of scrimmage and Mekhi Becton was able to get hands on them right away, and you see Saquon going for big gains. The thing with Saquon, and you look at this Chiefs defense hasn't given up 100-yard rusher in how many games, right? They don't give up a lot of 100-yard backs. Saquon's a different dude. You get him a little bit of space, he's going to beat angles. He's going to break tackles, and he's going to beat angles. A lot of running backs in the league don't have the ability that Saquon has. And then you get him behind this offensive line that's just been dominating virtually everyone that they've played. It's going to be hard for me to think that the Chiefs aren't going to allow 100 yards to Saquon.
Yeah, I think like when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, right? Like, this is a moment of excellence for Saquon. Like, everything he's worked for since he got drafted into the NFL boils down to pretty much Sunday. He canceled his daddy-daughter's dance to be at this game. Did you hear that? Did you hear that voicemail from his daughter?
No, I didn't.
Listen, The voicemail almost brought me to tears, bro. She was like, Daddy, I know we got things going on where we got to be somewhere else. So I understand we had to pretty much cancel the plans, but all I want you to do is win. And even if you don't win, I love you regardless. And I'm just like, as a father, like when you hear stuff like that from your kid, you're like, all right, I got to do whatever I can to at least do, you know what I'm saying? But on my end, I can say I did what I had to do to try to get there. You haven't heard it. I'm gonna send it to you too. I'm gonna DM it to you. But yeah, it was kind of astonishing to me, man, because I was like, I actually put my parlay in for the Super Bowl MVP, and then I heard I'm like, I got to put another one. I'm just have to, take the loss on one because I got to put Saquon on the ticket. Like,
yeah,
I think Saquon going to be honest, if it goes the way I expect it to go, he'll be somewhere close to breaking the Super Bowl record.
What is the Super Bowl record?
205.
205.
204, so 205 to break it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he'll get there, right? That's a lot of yards, especially against a good defense. They are a good defense, especially their safeties can tackle, right? And that's a big thing. If your safeties can't make tackles, Saquon's gonna, take it to the house, right? But they're seventh in explosive run rate. The Rams were eighth, right? So, and we saw how many times Saquon was able to run all over that defense. So, he could get there. I don't know if he will, but I mean, that's a lot of yards. That alternate rushing line, though. You get a nice little payout if you were to hit that.
It's just like I ain't gonna say 200, right? Because that's just like absurd for a team that's in the Super Bowl to give up. If they do, then they do. But I'm looking at somewhere like 160.
And you look at the fact that he's gonna get a heavy workload, right? He is gonna get 25 carries in the game. So you give Saquon that many carries, it's like he's liable to hit those yardage totals, right? So, it's something I could definitely see him hitting that 150 mark. It's probably smart to take an alternate rushing prop on his number. I don't even know what he's at for his rushing prop right now, but yeah. I woke up this morning and I forgot I put in a Jared Verse for Defensive Rookie of the Year back in August. So it was a good little morning for me to wake up to.
Player for rushing yards, his rushing is 111.5.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Vegas thinks he's going to go over 100, so I mean, I think he's going over 100. I think he's going to get a heavy workload. The times that actually concern me the most of him not hitting 100 is the games when it's like, oh, are we going to blow this team out and he only gets 15 carries, right? If he's going to get that 25 carry mark, what is he? He's going to average below 4 yards a carry. I find that very hard to believe.
I agree with you, Philly. I think our biggest opportunity is trying to get a turnover. I don't know if it has to be an interception, but I know we need to force their offense to make at least one or two mistakes that we can capitalize off of points on the board. Because going drive for drive, score for score with the Chiefs, I know we can do it, but you really don't want to play a game like that, man. You kind of want to at least play with some cushion. So you kind of, in my opinion, the best kind of scenario is up 10. So if they score, you go back and score. This time when we up 10, though, when we go back and score, let's let it not be a field goal. Let's score points. Because I heard somebody kind of say this, and I kind of agree. They said when you look at the Eagles and you look at the Chiefs, the one thing that makes them feel like the Chiefs wins in a close game is because they have a resume and experience of making those 4 to 5 plays they have in the back of the playbook for that scenario, get them in the end zone. And they said when you look at the Eagles in those situations, they're more than likely going to get a field goal. How you feel about that?
I mean, I think you give both teams, like when you're going down to try and win a game, right? And we're going for it on every 4th down. That gives you a little leeway. And I think both teams, when you have that, when you're going to be a little bit more aggressive, and we know Andy Reid's not an aggressive coach. When he goes for it on 4th down at one of the lowest rates in the league, but when their back's against the wall and they have to convert those 4th downs, it gives you extra leeway on 1st and 2nd down to, even if you're not getting big chunk gains, you can still, pick up 3-4 yards every time. And Mahomes, if he doesn't like what he sees right away, he's going to scramble and take the few yards that he needs to keep this, keep them ahead of the sticks and keep it going. But I think the Eagles can do that as well. And then the Eagles are more explosive of a team, so the Chiefs will probably have to dink and dunk their way down the field, knowing that this Eagles defense doesn't tend to give up big explosive gains, whereas the Chiefs defense does. And the Eagles hit on explosives a lot more than the Chiefs do. So what's to say that the Eagles can't go down there and if they need to put together a game-winning drive, especially when you add in Jalen Hurts' legs as well. Like, I'd feel. I mean, Mahomes is the best quarterback of this era right now, so I understand you probably take Mahomes in an end of game situation, but I feel like Jalen Hurts can deliver in those situations as well. Hopefully, we get a turnover, win that turnover battle. Both teams don't turn the ball over very much, so it really might be whoever gets that one turnover wins the game. And does it come down to special teams? This team's gotten 2 turnovers on special teams, and 3 of the playoff games so far. Do they bring that same intensity that they brought pretty much every game on special teams to make plays in that area? So it'll be interesting to see. But the Eagles defense is going to do a good job of this is what Fangio does well. He figures out how you like to attack, and then he changes up the looks to get guys dropping into your throwing windows, and especially with a guy like not a guy like, but a team like the Chiefs where they like to dink and dunk, they like to attack certain areas of the field. I feel like you could drop a guy off the edge into a throwing window and get a tip pass, or get a guy that Mahomes isn't expecting to drop there, and you might be able to steal one that way.
I know you looked at some of the things we could do in the back end. I know they like to run a lot of the window dressing. They like to, cheat you. I think the situation for a lot of people are talking about Quinyon and Coop. I think the situation in their offense, the thing that they're going to do best to try to throw off what Quinyon and Coop believe in as far as cornerbacks, what they've been taught, principles, the things you go to, the fundamentals of playing football. I think they're going to test that out with some of those stack routes where they got 3 or 4 guys over there and they're able to kind of move things around. They're able to move things around and kind of make them guess. I think when you make rookies play in a guessing situation, I think that's what they're gonna try to do best. So I don't see them like attacking too many other guys. Maybe Oren Burks again. They got some history with him in the Super Bowl last year. I think when it comes down to it, I think they're gonna use Xavier Worthy. They're gonna use guys like Hollywood and Juju, stacking them over there, making Quinyon and Coop make decisions in the moment.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. They're definitely going to use Worthy in the game, right? He's second on the team in targets, but he's mainly used as a gadget guy. But it's interesting. You don't see most gadget guys with 100 targets in a season. So they really lean into using Xavier Worthy and the role that he is in. A lot of routes to the flat, a lot of just trying to get him to the edge of the field, edge of the defense quickly. Right, but they're going to come out in bunch formations, stack formations, but it's not like the Eagles haven't seen that in the past. They love to do that on third down, especially when they're in third and long. You'll see them with a lot of bunch formations, a lot of 4 strong bunch formations, so they'll have a bunch formation with the running back on the same side of the field. The Eagles have tools to take care of that stuff, but this team, these corners, they've been... it's not like they're rookies, right? But they've played an entire season. They played 20 games now, or it'll be 20 games when they play together. So it's not like this is week 2 or 3 rookies. These are rookies that have been playing consistently throughout the year. This is the number 1 defense for a reason. It's been a number 1 defense with these rookies and the lineup. I don't think they're all of a sudden going to get to the Super Bowl and they're going to get lost and confused on stuff. I think they'll be prepared, especially with 2 weeks to prepare. Having a guy like Fangio who's a master of recognizing what you love to do, recognizing the little differences in your alignments and your formations and your tendencies, and the coaching that, with Christian Parker on the back end, he's gotten these guys locked in and ready to go. I do think that Quinyon and Slay are actually going to be a big factor in this game because I imagine they're going to use some of their coverage tools to shut down the middle of the field and not allow Kelsey to just roam free over the middle of the field like you see him do against some defenses. That puts a lot of stress on Slay and Quinyon on the outside, holding up in one-on-one. But they're going to be holding up against, a 30-whatever-year-old DeAndre Hopkins that isn't the same player anymore. And then Hollywood Brown, who's a solid player, but When we go out there and we shut down guys like Terry McLaurin and we shut down guys like Jamar Chase, I'm not that overly concerned. These guys will make plays here or there, but are they going to consistently make plays throughout the course of the game to go out there and put up 30 points, which is probably what they're going to need to put up to beat this Eagles team? And I just don't see that happening, right? But I do think that they're going to try and pack the middle of the field and take away Kelsey. You look at, I think, like 79% of his targets come between the numbers. So they're going to run some coverages to take away the middle of the field, but that will put pressure on their outside corners to hold up one-on-one. One other thing, someone mentioned Burks. They're going to try and target Burks, but I feel like they're going to have, again, with their coverage tools that they're going to use, they're not going to leave Burks on an island. If there'll be times where, he's going to have help with outside leverage, or he'll have help with inside leverage. It's not going to be like that 49ers Super Bowl where he's coming in off the bench, wasn't getting all the reps with the ones in practice. That matters when you're the one that's taking all the reps in preparation versus coming in cold off the bench. And then you add in that Fangio just does a better job of using the entire defense to help leverage and take away your best players. Will Kelsey get some catches? Will they take advantage of Burks at some times? I'm sure they will. But I don't think it's going to be a repeat of what happened last Super Bowl where they just kept targeting him.
I like what you said about the Slay and Quinion having to hold up, because that's kind of what I don't know if I'm looking for, but it's kind of like I feel like that'll be played better in our hands than leaving it on Oren Burks or something like that. Like you said, have to cover a Kelsey or whoever they send across the middle one-on-one. That would be devastating. I think putting Quinion out there, I don't know who they're going to put out there because they have a mirage of players they put in and out the game. You might see D-Hop, you might see Juju, you might see Hollywood, Xavier. Sometimes they like to slide out their tight ends out there into the wide set. So it's a multitude of ways they like to attack. I think when they come out, I think what we have to do, the best defense is keeping them off the field. I mean, that's my bet. I mean, obviously that's easier said than done because we also can be explosive. So it could be a situation where we kept them off the field, but we scored in a minute and 30 seconds. Like it's a hard task when you're going up against a team like this because you want to be able to kind of play the game in your hands, but the Chiefs have been known to play, multiple ways. They could play any way you want to play it because, they have two great coaches in Andy Reid and Spags. But like you said, I believe we're going to be prepared. I believe we're going to be ready. So,
yeah, and you make the time of possession factor is a big thing, and that's why having a team, having a good defense and a good run game is one of the best formulas for winning in the playoffs because if you win that time of possession battle, it keeps these great quarterbacks that you're going to face in the playoffs, it keeps them on the sideline for longer, right? And the more cracks that a good quarterback gets at a defense, they're going to start to figure that defense out, right? But you keep them on the sideline, you keep them out of rhythm, then that's when you can get some of these lower scoring performances. And the Eagles are built to hold on to the ball, win that time of possession battle. Even when they get out there and run tempo, it's not like they have to get up there, run tempo, and snap it right away. It's getting up, running tempo, getting to the line of scrimmage, using hard counts to get the shifts from the defense, then getting into the play that you want. But that time of possession is huge. I do want to talk about real quick. There's been a couple comments about Worthy. And yes, Worthy does have deep speed, and he absolutely can beat you deep if you let him. But that hasn't really been his MO or how they've been using Worthy this season. He has 4 catches this entire year. He has over 100 targets this season. Let me pull up his target totals. He has, including playoffs, 110 targets. He has 4 catches on passes of 20-plus air yards this season. It's not to say he can't beat you deep, but they're not using him that way. You look at how they use him. You look at his percentage, his target distribution. He's 57th out of 101 qualifying receivers and total targets of 20-plus air yards this season. He's 98th on passes from 10 to 19 yards, 47th on passes from 0 to 9 yards, and 17th on passes behind the line of scrimmage. Over 70% of his passes are coming under 10 yards. He is a gadget guy. Will they throw it deep to him at some point? Sure, but the guys that are really running more of their vertical routes that they're actually going to target is going to be Hopkins. He hasn't been winning a whole lot of them, but that's the guy that they run on more of the vertical routes. They will run Worthy on vertical routes, but it's generally ended up being more clear routes. Sometimes it's crossing routes, especially if you're going to play single high coverage. But that's not really how they've been using him a whole lot. But again, he is an extremely fast guy, so you have to be aware of him going deep. But he hasn't been very successful when they have targeted him deep, and it hasn't been that often when they've tried to target him. Where you see him winning a lot is especially in the red zone. He leads the team in red zone touchdowns this year. All of his red zone touchdowns have come on plays where they're trying to get him to the flat, and he can use his speed to beat angles to the pylon in the flat, right? And it could be screens, it could be jet sweeps, it could be reverses, it could be rub routes where they're trying to get him to the flat. It could be like a slide route back across the formation behind the line of scrimmage, sort of like a split flow action, right? So you got to be aware of him on those type of plays. That's how they're using him the most. So you want to take away and be aware of what are the go-to routes that a guy runs, and how can we limit those and take those away, because that's what you're going to see most often.
That rub route across the middle for him, that's been a staple of their plays too. When they get down in the 20, they run like two guys this way and run him across, hit him like right in the middle, then have those two guys kind of take him out, and he kind of like speeds as fast as he can to the sideline and try to cut up. I've noticed they've done that a few times. He also,
Yeah, especially
I think, what else I see? I think I've seen him running like the bubble screen too.
yeah, for sure. If you see Xavier Worthy and the slot on the same side of the running back, it's going to be some type of bubble RPO most likely, right? But if you see Xavier Worthy, I guess we could talk about Worthy a little bit, how he's used. He has something like 20 carries this season. All but two of them have come on reverses when he's either tight to the line of scrimmage or jet sweeps where he's working towards the field side, right? So there's things you can be aware of and alert for where Worthy is on the field. And you need to be aware of where Worthy is on the field because a lot of the offense runs through Worthy and Travis Kelce. So you have to be aware of where is he lined up, and especially in relation to the running back. If he is on the opposite side of the running back, especially in shotgun, it's probably going to be a jet sweep back across the formation. But if he's on the same side as the running back, then a lot of times they're using that flow from the running back working away from Worthy to create space for them to run a screen or a bubble back the other way. So just understanding where he's aligned, where they like to line him up. You're going to start to see reverses from him, especially when you get around the 25-yard line and end. So as you're approaching the high red zone, when he's aligned tight to the line of scrimmage and they're in under center, that's when you see a lot of the reverses from Worthy, and you have to be aware of those type of plays. So we'll see. But the thing with Worthy is they'll try and get him these explosive plays, getting to the flat, getting to the edge, hoping he uses his speed to break angles. But if he doesn't beat someone's angle, he doesn't break a lot of tackles. He's not a very powerful runner like a Tyreek Hill was. Even though Tyreek was a smaller, shorter guy, the dude was yoked, right? So he was a hard guy to bring down. Xavier Worthy isn't that type of player. I think they'd rather have Rashee Rice running some of those routes and running some of those plays. You can actually go and look at one of the touchdowns that Worthy scored. The touchdown he scored against the Bills this past game was an exact replica of a Rashee Rice touchdown from like week 2 of the season. So they're using him a lot in those type of roles.
Yeah, I noticed that. I noticed somebody did some numbers, right? And I think the number was it you? I don't know if it was you or not, but I did notice like when I was watching like the earlier tape, maybe the first 6 or 7 weeks, like when Rashee Rice was still in the lineup, he was running a lot of those routes, and then he got hurt, and then it seemed like they didn't immediately like throw him in. It was just like a gradual like, okay, now we're getting comfortable, and then you started seeing it. To me, going into this game, I know Kelce is a threat, but right after Kelce, I'm worried about like the next guy in line. I know they have an uncanny ability to just find each other and kind of be able to mirror each other. So Kelce and him just have an unkeen ability to just be like, okay, he ran there, but he's covered. I know he's finna go here, so I'm gonna put the ball here, and it's like almost like telepathic. And then it's Worthy though. I think Worthy's next. I know they want to run the ball, but Pacheco or Kareem Hunt, to me, as far as running backs, like right now, how they're performing, neither one of them scare me as far as like being able to manipulate my defense, make us commit to the run game, where we're liable to the pass. I don't see us doing that. My biggest issue is did you watch the Dolphins tape? How much he blitzed last year in that snow game?
No, I didn't watch that one. I mean, I've watched like cut ups and clips of like, third down defense, by formation and stuff like that, but zeroing specifically on that game, no.
Seemed like he was just, I don't know. Seems like he was trying to get Patrick Mahomes off his spot a lot. So he was bringing a lot of that creeper pressure he likes to bring, where it looks like.
Oh, you're talking about you're talking about
yeah,
Fangio in
Fangio.
2023.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I rewatched that game.
It looked like he was firing him up. It looked like he was just trying to like. I ain't gonna say he's like 40% blitz rate, but I think if I'm not mistaken, that was one of his highest blitz rates of the season against Pat in that game, and it worked until his offense couldn't score. I mean, it worked for 3 quarters. He was able to frustrate Mahomes for 3 quarters, and then, if I'm not mistaken, the Dolphins threw like a pick 6 or something like that, and that pretty much was the game.
Well, I think they gave up 2 touchdowns early, and then Tyreek Hill had a fumble return. Tyreek, when he was on the Dolphins, had a fumble return for a touchdown. But after the start of the game, it was like they really shut them down and didn't allow them to move the ball a whole lot. They were getting Mahomes off his spot. It was a lot of creeper pressures. It wasn't a whole lot of like 5-man pressures that Fangio will send. What he did a lot more last year though was he sent a lot more cover 0 pressures. We hardly see that this year, so I don't think he's gonna. Maybe they resort back to that, but I highly doubt they're going to go and live in that at this point in the year. Maybe they throw it out there once or twice in this game as a changeup. But I loved what he did with his creeper pressures, because what it was doing was allowing them to drop guys into throwing windows of where they like to throw the ball, right? Especially on the quick game, the RPO game, certain things like that. And if you're able to drop a defensive lineman into a window and their quick pass game and like that, well, then it can really, the quarterback has to hold on to the ball, and quick game, if you can't get the ball out quick, your offensive line, they're quick setting, they're jump setting a lot of times. They're expecting the ball to come out quick, so it's easier to get pressure in those situations if you can force the defense to have to hold on to the ball. So I loved what they did with their creeper pressures. I imagine if I'm the Eagles, I'm going to be playing a lot of split safety looks this week because, like you mentioned, they're not a very good running team. You look at their yards per carry, 27th, explosive run rate, 32nd. They're not doing a great job of opening up holes for these guys, and they're not doing a great job of winning after that. Now, there's a couple formations that they go to, especially someone mentioned they get tricky. Kansas City likes to get tricky, especially when you get them in the red zone. That's when all the trick plays start to come out. They have like this wing T formation, or not a wing T, a full house formation where you got 3 running backs in the backfield or 3 guys in the backfield, and then they like to run some option plays off of that. They're definitely going to be coached up and ready for those formations. But even having said that, the Chiefs are going to come out with something we've never seen, and that the defense has never seen, and they're not going to be prepared for. But getting back to what I was saying, I'm going to live. I'd rather live in more split field coverages, or those coverages where you're playing cover 3, but your safety is rotating down late, because I'd rather them hand the ball off on their RPOs than throw it on their RPOs. I'd rather them decide, we're going to try and run the ball, and if we don't run the ball, we're going to be throwing it into looks that are much better for your pass defense, right? You look at the Chiefs last year, they threw it on something like 60, I don't have the number in front of me, something like 65% of their RPOs, 60% of their RPOs. They threw it on 2 of their 11 RPOs that they had against the Dolphins. And the Chiefs are throwing on RPOs at an even higher rate this year, something like 70% of their RPOs, Pat Mahomes ends up throwing it. So I would definitely want to take away what they do best. And that's what Fangio's done great this whole year. What do you do best? What do you want to do? Okay, you can't do that. Go to your plan B. And I think Fangio's going to try and do that. Take away the RPOs, make them hand off the ball. And if they don't want to hand off the ball, you're going to be throwing into tight coverage.
Real quick, shout out to Coach Weaver for the $2 super chat. He didn't say anything, but shout out to him. I think that's for you though, bro.
Comment above that.
Oh, okay. I see it.
Yeah, we'll have to we'll have to connect and talk about what we can do in terms of getting a stream together at some point.
When you look at the matchup, obviously you're as confident as me. What's some things you're looking forward to seeing, like maybe early in the game that can build confidence?
Well, it's going to be. You look at the Super Bowls. A lot of the times they don't end up coming out and a lot of scoring early, right? It's a lot of setting stuff up for later, feeling teams out. It's kind of like a championship boxing fight or a championship UFC fight. A lot of times those early rounds these guys aren't throwing haymakers, right? They understand that the other teams are good in certain aspects, and it's like you're trying to feel your way through the game. I feel like it might be a little bit of that early in the game where people are going to hate for me to say it, but I'd like for him to throw a bubble early in the game because if there's times when you come out, especially in one of our best formations, our trips formation where we have three receivers on one side of the field, we have a tight end on the solo side, aligned to the tight to the line of scrimmage. That is one of our best run formations, but they run a lot of bubble action off of that. They only throw the bubble like once a game. Everyone hates when we do it. It never goes for anything big, but there are times when the Chiefs will just ignore that when you see them in certain formations. In that formation, there's times where they'll just ignore that and load up the box. If that happens, the Eagles need to go out there and throw that bubble. Even if it turns into 2 yards, it turns into 2 yards, but it makes them respect that and it opens up space for Saquon back inside. So things like that, maybe use some jet motion early in the game, like we saw against the Commanders, where the jet motion, where we actually gave it to Devontae, opened up a big touchdown, not a touchdown run, but a big like 22-yard run for Saquon later in the game after everyone started chasing the jet motion when we came back to it in the third or fourth quarter. Little things like that to set up what we do. But at the end of the day, getting into the beginning of the game is going to be feeling out how are they going to match up to our formations, how are they going to match up to our motions, and then from there is when the adjustments come in. This is going to be a big game of adjustments, and if there's anything this Eagles coaching staff has been good at this year, we've talked about how they've started slow for much of the year, and then it's the adjustments that come throughout the game where they start to pick it up and get better, and you can definitely see that in Jalen Hurts' first half, second half splits. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little slow going to start the game, but it's going to be the adjustments after the scripted series that's going to be important. But can we set up some traps that we can come back to with counters later in the game? I'll be interested to see that.
I think what I want to see early is the offense getting out on the edge. I think to me, neither one of their edge rushers in the run game scare me a lot. I think getting out on the edges, forcing them to contain the run with how we've been able to do it in inside zone, outside zone, a little tossed, little a little RPO, outside zone RPO. I think we could kind of force them to be a little bit undisciplined. I think when they get in the run game, they're not really good, and I think that's been a lot because you can't really go at the middle, right? Chris Jones is obviously there. He poses a problem if you can't get him out of the way. I think like how you say it?
Karlaftis. Yeah, George
Yeah,
Karlaftis.
and Charles Amenahu. I don't think either one of those guys for me in the run game like bear me to be like I need to go past because they're in. I think seeing some of that. I know this isn't going to be an early adjustment, but I think when Chris Jones is off the field and the offense is humming, I want to see some of that hurry up offense, keeping him on the sideline. He's a dangerous guy. When you see him about to get subbed in, he's obviously on the sideline picking his poison. He's coming in with a game plan of where he can go, where he can disrupt the next play on offense. So I think keeping him on the field and the hurry up is a big positive in our end, and we have been doing a lot better with the hurry up towards the latter end of the season. It's starting to pick up. They're starting to learn that when Jalen Hurts is in rhythm, when Jalen Hurts is on time, these kind of things are rolling. He plays better. He plays better quarterback at that moment, and I think if you get a few of those times in where Chris Jones is out, he's trying to get rest. He's trying to get back in the game. You hit him with a no huddle. You hit him with a couple of them back to back where he can't get in, he can't substitute in to disrupt what's going on, and maybe you break off a few. I think we did it. I want to say it was
Steelers
the Steelers and the Steelers was one of the games, but then we do it again against Payne. Wasn't Payne one of the ones we did a little bit in the NFC Championship game? We ran a little no huddle when he was on the sideline.
I think we're second in the league in no and no huddle rate. So it's going to be a part of the game plan for sure. The
Right.
Commanders, I think, were first. The Commanders do it a little bit differently though, where they get up to the line of scrimmage and they're trying to snap it faster than the Eagles get in there, and then they're trying to figure out, can we figure out the shift? Are you, giving us clues to get into the right play? But I agree with you for sure. When he's off the field, get into no huddle, keep him off the field, try and run at those looks for sure.
Thirdly, I think getting into your playmakers early, man. Getting Devontae, getting AJ, getting Goddard. Even if you need to get Jahan involved. Obviously, I'm not including Saquon because in the passing game, he when he shows up just fine. I think him in the run game, we've shown the ability to stick to the run game. But I think our problem sometimes early in the game, which I didn't see last game, and I kind of seen in the Rams game. But we don't get the playmakers involved in that first series sometimes. Kind of start, and I think that's been kind of our problem of stalling out. Ended up not getting points on the first drive is we just don't use the guys we have. I mean, the simplest plays that you could pull out sometimes early in the game are the best plays. I don't understand how the script isn't working, Nick. Maybe you've seen something but I think it's a little bit just I don't know. I ain't gonna say unprepared because that don't seem right. Just feels like sometimes the script doesn't fit the team they're playing. If that makes sense. Like I've seen us come out against the 30th ranked rush team. The first four plays are it's like they're horrible at running. Why are we not running the ball early? Have you seen the same thing, or do you think we try to set it up?
So we talked about this on one of the shows. Some of the slow starts are just due to it's a small sample size sport, right? And we kind of predicted that they would start to pick it up in their first quarter scoring as the season went on, and they did. There was a number of games where they were putting up a good amount of points in the first quarter. You go back to the Rams game, even in the NFC divisional round. They put up what 14 or 21 was it
Yeah,
14 points in the first quarter. So here's the thing with scripts: you might be preparing for a team to play you one way coming into the game, and then they can play you a completely different way. Even if it might be the 31st ranked rushing defense, maybe they just say we're going to come out and we're going to load up the box, and then the quarterback checks into a different play because the defense is giving you a more advantageous look to throw the ball. There's a number of different reasons why a script may or may not work. I think the most important thing though is how do you adjust after that script, because the opening series, the opening first couple of series is just that's the part of the game, but a very small part of the game. How do you adjust after that? Because that's going to be the biggest thing is figuring out, oh, they're playing us this way now. Okay, we need to get into these plays. We need to talk about these guys, look for these alignments, look for these type of different things. But I agree with you. Getting the playmakers involved is always going to be part of the game plan, and I feel like they've started to do that a little bit better as the season's gone on, especially against the Commanders, the NFC Championship game. And you look at the Chiefs defense, man, there's going to be opportunities for AJ and Devontae one-on-one just with how the Chiefs play defense. You can come out in certain formations and certain looks and get one-on-ones with them on the outside, especially with what the Chiefs do. They press both corners over 50% of their snaps, which is the highest in the NFL. You get AJ and press situation one-on-one. That is check to go route for this team. Are you going to be able to stop that throughout the game? 3-4 times throughout the game. AJ is going to win some of those, right? He's not going to win all of them. Sometimes, things don't work out every time, but he's going to win a couple of those where they flip the field based on plays like that. So I think it's a good matchup for this team with how Kansas City likes to play. You'll be able to get some one-on-ones, but there will be times where Kansas City comes out and they straight up double team both AJ and Devontae. In different ways. We saw it against the Bills. The Bills came out and they double teamed Cooper and Khalil Shakir on a number of plays, and then go win with someone else. We saw a big touchdown from Matt Collins against the Bills. Excuse me, when they played against the Chiefs. Because of that, Goddard will probably have to step up on those situations. Maybe we get a Jahan Dotson, touchdown in there or a big play in there somewhere. But it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I do think he has to have a big play. I do think Jahan Dotson has to have one or two plays. I'm not saying like 50 yards, but there's gonna be one or two times where, like you said, they're gonna come out, they're gonna bracket AJ, they're gonna bracket Smitty, and they're gonna play a little coverage where they're kind of rocking that middle to take Goddard out the play. Jahan's gonna have to win. It's kind of the same way with Mac. Like Mac was kind of the one-on-one man. Like, hey, look, I'm gonna need you to go win that one-on-one at least twice. Kind of came down to it, like with Mac. He didn't. After that, I don't really remember him winning another big matchup. You know, it's almost like, okay, you got that one. We gonna make sure we don't make that mistake again. I think the thing that makes me most like optimistic is the fact that Jalen Hurts at the line has been very pivotal. He's been very cerebral. He's been able to. That's it. And he sees everything you're doing, and he comes up to the line. He's calling the play out. He's changing it up. You know, even if he's not completely changing it, he's changing blocking. You know, and I think I seen somebody talking about like cadence. And sometimes when I hear people talk about our team, Nick, I'm almost like, you haven't been watching Jalen. Jalen been setting stuff up all season in that manner of, okay, I know they know my snap count. Let me see what they're doing. He'll get up there and you think it's coming. He might even do the leg. You know, he might even do the leg to make it look even more realistic. And then you show everything that he wants to see. He changed the play up. Now, can you change the play in that sense? Yes. But how many times do you really see a defense adjust in the moment? You don't know what's coming. So you call the play. You stick it to the principle. I think just like you said, you come down and press with one high. We know what we call it. With AJ down the sideline one-on-one with any one of their corners, I like our odds. And people are saying like Smitty's too small for L'Jarius Sneed. You know, you see what he did to Tyreek Hill. Smitty is one of the smoothest guys in the world when it comes to route running. I don't like no disrespect to Tyreek Hill, but I don't think he's an elite route runner. I think he has a few routes in his bag he likes to run. He's really good at them. When he runs them, if he gets the way he wants to, he can beat you. Smitty can run the route tree frontwards and backwards on any defender. I mean, what is it? 107.7, Nick, is what he averages against Spags?
His passer rating?
No, his yards in the 3 games he's played.
Oh, Devontae.
Yeah, it's 107.7.
I'm not sure. Yeah, but he goes off on them pretty much every time. He has a good game. I think he'll definitely be a factor, you know, whoever they get matched up on. It's weird. You look at the Chiefs defense, they run like a platoon with their DBs and with their defensive line. It's like you'll see they'll rotate their safeties in throughout the game. When Jalen Watson came back from injury, they're rotating in their backup corner throughout the game. He wasn't playing every single snap, you know, so it'll be interesting now that he's a little bit more healthy. Is he going to play more? He's a good corner, but I don't think McDuffie has a size to truly match up with AJ consistently throughout the game. He'll have his wins for sure, but I think AJ will be able to win as well. And Devontae is such a smooth route runner. He'll be able to win. They'll be able to find space for these guys against their zone coverage as well. You know, they play a lot of press, and you can single them up, but it's not necessarily like they're playing a ton of single high. They're playing more quarters than any other coverage, a lot of split field coverages. But the way that they use their safeties, you can influence their safeties to move out of the way so you can get a one-on-one down the sideline. And if they don't, you could run, like sometimes the safety might bracket the number one receiver. Well, then you're getting a one-on-one with the guy in the slot, and their slot corner isn't the greatest in the world at coverage. So it'll be interesting. You mentioned, though, with Jaden and his cadence, I think it's something that no one ever talks about, because it's always like whenever you hear people online talking about, oh, this team isn't schemed up well, they don't run enough motion, this and that. Some quarterbacks don't like motion as much, but also it might not even be that. It also could be that when you get everyone in a static formation, what you're doing is you're taking a snapshot of the defense. How are their leverages? What is the leverage of the nickel in relation to the safety? Based on that, you can kind of figure out what the defense is going to be in. And then if you get out there and you use hard counts, you can get these guys to shift out of their disguise just a little bit. And we've seen times, I've put this clip on Twitter, I've put it on my YouTube before, going back to the Buffalo Bills game from last year. It was like the first play of their overtime drive when they needed a touchdown to win the game. Jalen comes out, he hard counts. The Bills are trying to look like they're rotating their safeties down to one side of the field. Their linebackers are trying to hold their disguise by moving out of their gaps. Jalen hard counts. The linebackers shift over, and that gave the whole disguise away. And he realized, okay, actually the safety is going to rotate down this way now. Okay, here's a play that we want to run when they're running a strong rotation from the safeties, and they called it quarterback draw, running away from the rotation, right? It's things like that no one has a nuance to talk about on Twitter because that's not the stuff that like blows up and gets attention, right? But there's different pros and cons to running a ton of motion or running static formations. One's not necessarily better than the other, and I think it's a mix of using everything at your disposal to try and figure out what the defense is doing. And I think the Eagles will do that. Sometimes you're going to see them get up to the line, use tempo, hard count, see where guys shift. So other times you're going to see them use motion to try and figure out, are they and a zone defense? Is it cover 3? Is it cover 4? Is it man? Is it zone? Things like that. So it'll be great to see. They have so many different ways of giving Jalen, good reads, and I'll be very excited. Hopefully, we win this one so I can come back through and break it down and put it out there for people to see. But I think they're going to be able to figure some things out and get Jalen some easy reads.
I really think that Buffalo game, quiet as kept, was one of the games where we really had to adjust, like on the fly, because that rotating safety was kicking our butt. Like they would rotate the safety and Jalen would be like stuck, almost froze. Like, oh man, he wasn't supposed to be there, and they kept doing it. And I think what really messed them up was that it was unorthodox, because at first it looked like they were rotating down on the weak side. And then Jalen like, okay, well, we're going to move the play to this. And then they started rotating the opposite way. And it was like, they didn't really have a key on how you, and like you said, Jalen finally seen it like, okay, they keep rotating down. Let me see if I can see it early. He sees it, it's coming out on the right side. And I'm thinking in my head, since he changed the play, I'm thinking it was a draw, but I'm thinking it's to the pull-in safety. He calls it off, puts it the other way, so he goes away from the pressure. I mean, I thought that was one of the best defense of games played against us. I know it wasn't this year, but like Jalen just being able to read that, being able to take them on and be like, okay, they've been showing me some things I'm not comfortable with. Let me see if I can see it earlier than I have been. And that hard count really did make them adjust, because the safety didn't completely rotate, but he took that step enough that Jalen was like, whoa. Okay, I see you. Then
it's oftentimes the linebackers that are the ones giving it away too, because the safeties and the linebackers and the nickel are playing on a string, right? So when those linebackers take a step over and the safety might even still be staying there, it's like, well, the linebackers gave away your disguise, So sometimes it could be the safety that takes that step back, and it's going to be very important against this Chiefs defense, man. Because I've wanted to put out a video about breaking down this defense and what to look for, ways the Eagles can take advantage of it, man. But this Chiefs defense, man, they are just so good at mixing up their looks and showing you one look out of one front and then coming back and doing the complete opposite, changing up the front, changing up the rotation of the safety. It's like you hardly ever see them run the same play twice in a game. A lot of times it's like they're going to come with a different pressure and a different rotation of the safeties. So using those hard counts, using those tools to figure out, where's the defensive end leverage based on this formation, using certain formations to get tells to see how they're lined up and taking advantage of that is going to be huge. But man, it has been a nightmare trying to like watch this defense and figure out like what they're doing, because it's just so much disguise, so much foolery going on that it's like, it's got my head spinning, and it's like been delaying me like getting writer's block from putting out this next video that I want to put out before the game. But these coaches are much smarter than I am, so they'll be ready for it. What's up?
Did you hear Mahomes say that about Fangio? About the reason it's so difficult to play? He believes like when him and Fangio meet up, it's almost like he doesn't see the same defensive set twice in one game.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of that. I didn't go back and watch their previous matchups, and I only watched their Week 9 matchup last year. I didn't watch the playoff one because they had so many defensive players hurt. They were playing with like Melvin Ingram, who hadn't played, and like he got signed in like Week 16. Jason Pierre-Paul, same thing. It's like so many backups playing at that point in time. It was like kind of pointless to watch that game. But I am kind of interested to see. I guess I could go back and watch how did they match up and when he was in Denver, right? But then you go back so long ago, and it's like, guys change up their defenses a little bit, and they change up, just little details here and there. Not that they're changing the entire structure, but like, do we like to leverage these routes based on this formation in this way? How has his defense changed with this uptick in motion that we've really seen over the past 5-6 years? versus years prior, things like that. But at the end of the day, I think that a lot of the principles are still going to be the same of what you get out of a Fangio defense. They're not going to throw out. They're not. There, you see a lot of the same plays over and over and over from the Fangio defense, but it's like they'll pick like their 4 favorite coverages they're going to rotate throughout the game, and it's like, okay, guess which one we're going to do right now. It's going to look all the same pre-snap, but post-snap we're going to change who's dropping here and who's dropping there. Whereas the Chiefs, it's just like everything's different. Like every play, every alignment, every front, every blitz, every even the coverages, they'll make it's a difficult defense. Now they like to live on chaos, but a lot of times they're less sound on the back end because it's like they got so many moving parts because of that stuff.
Nick, you doing your best this week?
I stopped doing it because it's in order to give that out, it's like it takes so much time to actually dedicate to like, diving into all the numbers. And it's like with me trying to do everything else with it, it was like I didn't feel comfortable being like, hey guys, bet your hard-earned money on this when I'm just putting together like an hour of work towards it. So it's like if I ever get to a point where I have an editor and I can dedicate more time to that, I'll probably get back to that. But I'd probably take, I haven't looked at the numbers so far coming up to this game, but Saquon over on his rush attempts has been money almost the entire year. Now, they finally caught up to his rush attempt number last game. They finally bumped it from like 20.5 to 21.5 up to like 24 to 26 based on some books last game. So, that's something to pay attention to. I do think, you really got to see the numbers to see, who I'd end up taking. But
well, before we get out of here, Philly Rapture got a question for us at the end. If I don't know how deep you are in Todd Bowles, but what's the main difference between Todd Bowles pressure packages and Spags pressure packages?
I haven't spent as much time looking at those Bowles packages as I have, especially recently as compared to Fangio or Spags. But the Chiefs run the second highest rate of pressure from quarters coverages, right? So he is really one of the top guys in the league at running those type of pressures. First is the Vikings, is Brian Flores. So it's a different, they play a lot of single high with the Bucks, and they use a lot of fire zone blitzes, things like that. Versus Spags tends to rely more on, especially lately, on blitzing out of quarters looks. And the key with Spags pressure packages is you're not going to know which guys are blitzing for sure, but you can pick up on little tells and little tendencies that, okay, we're going to send 4 from this side, but if we're sending this many from this side, there is one of these guys is going to drop out into coverage, and one of these guys is going to drop out into coverage over here. The structure on the back end is going to be the same. You just don't know which player is going to be in those spots. And so, you can run your, just as long as you understand the coverage is going to play out in very similar ways. You're just not entirely sure if this guy's going to be dropping into coverage versus that guy, right? But it's kind of having to trust the play design that happens. I think with the pressure, with a lot of the pressures that he sends as well, I think you can throw it outside the numbers against this team. Even if it's not deep passes, throwing out routes, throwing comebacks, curls, stuff like that, I think you can do. And that's what Jalen loves doing. He loves throwing outside the numbers. It's who he's been through his entire career. And you look at the Chiefs defense, they are 5th in the league in percentage of passes against that are outside of the numbers, excuse me. So that'll be something to watch for. But you can manipulate this defense. You get those pressures picked up. You can manipulate some of the coverage rules and some of the tendencies and still attack over the middle of the field. There's a number of concepts that I think the Eagles can run that fits into what Jalen has run well when throwing over the middle of the field this year. So it'll be interesting to see, but I feel very confident about this game and about this team and what they got going on.
When I look at Todd Bowles' defense compared to Spags, I think Spags is more disguise, more finesse. He's more trying to make you miss, so he gets open guys on the blitz. He more so wants you to think it's coming from here, but it's coming from here. So you overload or slide pressure one way. Now he has a free man. I think with Todd Bowles, like, he stacks you up, he coming. Like he's not with the like creeper stuff. He might bring a corner blitz here. He might, sneak a guy down in the box late, bring a safety blitz here. But most of the time, He's gonna line up across your face. He's gonna bring his guys, and they're so good at blitzing. It's almost like you don't have to do the disguises, the creeper stuff, where it looks one way, and then right as you snap the ball, three guys that look like they were finna drop back and play man to man are now coming at you, coming at you from a different angle. It's things to that I feel like are different with Todd and Spag. I think Spag's more disguised, more secret agent blitzing, and Todd Bowles is more like brute force. He's just like, hey, look, we're gonna line up in the A gap, we're gonna line up in the B gap, we're gonna go across the whole formation, 6 deep. It's gonna be 5-on-6, and we're gonna win one of those matchups. In my opinion.
Yeah, and here's the thing. The Chiefs are going to walk up guys to the line of scrimmage. They'll walk up linebackers to the line of scrimmage. They'll move defensive ends into interior gaps. Run at that stuff. You don't have to throw at it all the time. Spags does like to blitz at a higher rate on 3rd and long, but he also blitzes at a high rate on 2nd and short, because to me, I feel like he's one of those guys where it's like, okay, well, the odds say you're probably going to convert and get a first down if you get to 2nd and short. Well, let's try and create a negative somehow and get you back in a 3rd and long, right? So when you get some of these times when they're going to get guys to the line of scrimmage, run at those looks like we saw against the Rams. Get Jalen outside of the pocket, get some of these RPOs, get some of these jet sweeps where you can attack the edge. I put up something on Twitter. They love to send these overload blitzes to one side. You know what that opens up on the other side? Room to run with the quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised if they see that pre-snap, oh, we're anticipating this 4-man overload blitz to one side. Let's check into quarterback draw out the other way. Right, they lead the league in percentage of scrambles against on 3rd down. This Chiefs defense does, right? So if you pick up these blitzes, there's space to attack down the field, and there's space for Jalen to escape in the pocket as well. So, I think they'll be able to take advantage of what this Chiefs team does. And you look at this Chiefs defense, man, they're good, but they're not shut down, right? When they play good offenses, those good offenses will put up mid-20s to 30 points. The Bills hit 29 and 30 points in their 2 matchups against, right? When they played the Bengals put up in the mid-20s. The Bills, the Buccaneers, even without Mike Evans and even without Chris Godwin, like one of their first games without those guys, they put up something like 24 points, right? And this Eagles team, they're really finding their groove right now. I feel like they'll be able to score some points, and I think they'll be able to get close to 30, if not over 30. And are the Chiefs going to be able to keep up with that? Because they've scored over 30 points one time. They scored 30 points on the nose, I think, twice this season, and over 30 points just one time this season. So, and now they're facing the number 1 defense in the NFL. We'll see what happens, but I'm feeling pretty confident for this one.
Well, we reached the hour, man. Final words and score prediction? I mean, I ain't got. Listen, I was going. I usually say something fancy before I pass you the mic. Really got nothing fancy to say, man. I'm ready to get to it. I'm confident. I'm ready to get to it. So, I know you'd be stuck on the score prediction. So,
yeah, I'm gonna go. So I mentioned I think this team can get close to 30 points. I think they can, and I'll put it at 30. I think the Eagles score 30. I'm feeling confident that they can make this Chiefs team work. And the Eagles don't give up quick touchdowns. They don't give up big explosive plays. This Chiefs team doesn't hit on big explosive plays. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but they're last in explosive runs. They're 28th in explosive pass rate. So, I don't think we're going to see a ton of scoring from the Chiefs team. So I'm going to give them – they will move the ball, though, and Pat Mahomes will score. So I do think they put up some points. But I'm going to go with Eagles 30, Chiefs 23.
We close. We close in the final score. I think I'm in the 30 range. I got it 31-21. I think when I look at the game, I think we could like I said, I think we need maybe one turnover to turn the tide. And I think if we get that turnover, man, honestly, it don't gotta be close, but I respect the Chiefs enough to know that they're gonna get their points. Andy Reid is gonna figure out a way to put it in the bucket. If he doesn't, it's probably going to get nasty, but ultimately, I think defensively we can make a few stops. I think offensively we can capitalize on a few big plays, like you said. This offense versus that defense, we're going to be able to get some of the things we like to do as an offense best, which is getting outside the numbers, which is getting the ball and Goddard hand across the middle of the field. I think the biggest matchup is probably Goddard. I think if he has a good game, I think this game is really going to get out of control. So I'm going to go 31-21 Eagles. It's going to be a good one. Final word before we get out of here, man. You know what I'm saying? We can let these good people go. I know you got editing to do and all types of stuff.
Yeah, right. I got script writing to do. I got to figure out what I'm going to make this defensive video about. I've still got to figure out what the Chiefs defense even does. What's their tells, man? There's a few in there, but man, this is their redemption game, right? It's a redemption for the Super Bowl for a couple years ago, but also it's a redemption for all the shit talking that's been going on about the coach, about Jalen Hurts, about Fangio's 0-7 or 0-8 against Mahomes, leaving out the fact that he gave up the last time these two teams played in the regular season, or last time Fangio played the Chiefs in the regular season. They gave up 14 points and the Chiefs scored 14 points on their own, right? So a lot of negativity, a lot of counting the team out, right? And I feel like this is the time to, make a lot of the haters eat their words. If there's any time to take down the Chiefs and end the three-peat, it's against this Chiefs team where Travis Kelce's having the worst year of his career, where their second-best receiver has been used more as a gadget guy than anything else, where their defense isn't quite as good as it was last year, right? So I feel like there's any year and any team that's built to take down this Chiefs team, it's this Eagles team, and this is the game for redemption in a lot of different ways.
I think when you come to, like you said, redemption, man. I think when you come in life, you get a choice, man. You get the fight or flight. I think we fought the first time. We put up a valiant effort, 35-38. Things happen. Sometimes you can't control the outcome on the field. But I think this time we standing again, man. We ready to fight. We ready to go toe to toe with supposedly the baddest team in the land. I think you're correct, man. I think without L'Jarius Sneed, without some of the guys they've been accustomed to. I know that the names on the offense may scare you. I know when you hear Hollywood Brown, when you hear DeAndre Hopkins, when you hear those names like Juju or Xavier Worthy, you hear it and you say, "Oh, explosive." I think this defense that we have is solid. They are fundamentally sound. They're going to play the best game of their life. And I think it's a lot of motivation in this locker room. Nick said it best, man, for redemption. To go out there, to taste the loss, to have to go back to Philly, to go through the 2023 scoundrel of a season where you started off strong and you ended in a bloodbath of losses that you probably shouldn't have had. I think this year is the boiling point, where the rubber meets the road, where you get an opportunity to really face your demons. And you said it best, like, we're going to win. This is it. This is the one. I think we come in this game, man. I think, one band, one sound, one plan. When this game over, I think the Philadelphia Eagles will be the Super Bowl champ.
Let's go.
But yeah, man, we're going to get up out of here. If y'all haven't yet, hit the like button, hit subscribe button. It's 162 of y'all in here. And if you're on my page and you haven't went over to Nick's page and hit that follow button, subscribe. I'm pretty sure all my subscribers are now subscribed. If not, I'm very disappointed in you guys for not being over there yet, man, and making sure my guy putting these videos out, man, 3-4 times a week, making sure, the quality of the video is there, the substance of the video is there. So tap in, man, and really give us some love, man. He's really putting in a lot of work behind this Philadelphia Eagle thing that we all love together. So with that, man, we're going to get up out of here. Fly, Eagles, fly. Go Birds. Let's get our second one, baby.
Let's go.
Yo, Philly fam, I'm back.